Good morning. Welcome to Fantasy Sports. Today on SportsGrid, it is Saturday after Thanksgiving. We've got football, we've got turkey, we've got George Kurtz. Welcome to another edition of the show, George. Great to be back with you. Hope you had a good holiday. We'll dive into the very latest in the NFL. Some games that kind of went a little strangely. It may have cost one coach his job. And then, of course, we're waiting for some of the bigger games on Sunday. Great to be back with you.
Absolutely. Getting down to the nitty-gritty here, almost at the December football here. You mentioned Turkey Day was great. Cowboys got a win, so better for me. Giants never lost, heading into oblivion there. So yesterday's game, it was a game. So Kansas City plays up to, I guess, or down to what the level of play this year. Find another interesting way to win a game here. And then tomorrow we're on to pretty much the rest of week 13.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty remarkable to see what the Chiefs have been doing every single week, which is winning barely on the weirdest, strangest plays possible, but that's kind of been it. We'll dive into the 3 games on Thursday and, of course, the game on Black Friday as well. But first, let's dive into the headlines on today's edition of Fantasy Sports Today. Let's begin with Aaron Rodgers, still unclear as to whether or not he will play next year. Still got to figure out this year, by the way, too. Matt Eberflus did end up losing his job as a result of that game against the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. What a tough weekend it's got to be for him and his family. Demarcus Robinson arrested on a DUI. He's going to play on Sunday. Daniel Jones is not going to play the rest of this season. He's got Nick Mullins ahead of him as the backup quarterback, and then, of course, Sam Darnold is the starter. But maybe there's a chance that Daniel Jones ends up playing for the Vikings next year. But, George, let's dive into a number of these topics. I think we do have to start with the Chicago Bears. I know we're going to dive deeper into this coming up in just a few minutes when we recap all the games. But there's no question about it that was the talking point of Thanksgiving weekend as far as pro football is concerned. Having about 30 seconds left to play, maybe about 25, the Bears could not even get off more than one play, a play in the end without using a timeout. It didn't really affect fantasy all that much, but the reality of it is that, it's a talented team, George. I mean, the Bears should not have the record that they have. They've lost a ton of one-score games. The only question is that will the offense get that coach firing bump next week and moving forward?
Yeah, the playing question. I think it ended with about 32 seconds left, right? And then tick, 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 and you snap the ball. And you're getting snap the ball. Snap the ball! And he waits down to, 3-4 seconds. Oh, that's the last play of the game now, and they throw a pass. And even if he completed it, it didn't matter here. I think what's worse for Eberflus, Craig, is not so much that he didn't call a timeout, is that he defended it. Right? He defended it in the press conference. Well, the play went the way we wanted it to go. Really? Because either you're an idiot or you think we are. Right? That's what it comes down to there. You truly believe that it was okay, or you think we're all stupid. One or the other happened there. I think that was the end of him. Most of us were surprised anyway that he held on to the job going into the season, right? You figure they'd hire a new offensive coaching staff, a quarterback guru to help with Caleb Williams, and now you got a second-year quarterback that's going to have a second offensive coordinator more than likely. So not a good situation with Chicago, but Craig, maybe we shouldn't be surprised. Isn't this always the situation with this team? They always struggle so much. But you mentioned the new quarterback bump. Well, you're at San Fran next week. Granted, San Fran's not that team anymore. All right, I think they get housed on Sunday night in Buffalo, by the way. Then you're at Minnesota, Detroit, Seattle, at Green Bay. That new head coach bump may have to wait till next season.
Yeah, I don't know. It always happens in the NFL. You're going to hear me next week come on the show taking the Bears against the spread. It's the gift that keeps on giving during the holiday season, as they say. All right, let's dive into some of the other topics. Then we will dive into the Chiefs and Raiders yesterday, and, of course, the Packers and Dolphins and all the games on Thursday. We'll preview ahead for Sunday as well. In terms of quarterbacks, I was able to finally make that trade, George, that we were talking about last week. I made a couple of trades, actually, which we'll dive into as I'm heading toward the playoffs. But another player that was traded in one of the leagues that I was in was Aaron Rodgers. Somebody acquired him to essentially be the third quarterback on their team, like the in case of emergency break glass quarterback. Well, there's clearly an emergency right now in New York. I wonder, George, to be honest, I don't know that any of these rumors are true, and you hear a lot of this stuff about, Jeff Bezos buying the Jets. I don't know that any of that is true or the Johnson family is going to move on from this team. But that's kind of my read, man. I don't know. I think we're coming to a new era in New York. I think it's a full teardown. I don't think there's any chance Aaron Rodgers is back in New York. And boy, doesn't it feel, it's so strange. I think we've talked about it last week or the week before. It is so eerie how this is like Brett Favre all over again with the Jets, right? Like Brett Favre left Green Bay at the top. He was still a good quarterback, maybe not the best in the NFL. He goes to New York and is a disaster pretty much in every way, and then goes to Minnesota after that, and he's like good again, and they go all the way to the NFC Championship. Does Rodgers still have another year in him on a different team?
My guess would be no. I mean, he's not quarterbacking the Jets next year. I think you, I, or Sam behind the glass, they have a better chance of quarterbacking the Jets next year than Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they're going to have a new head coach. They're going to have a new GM, and they're not going to want a 41-year head coach at the helm here. Just not. All right, so that's not going to happen. It's just been a disaster with Rodgers in New York from the Achilles tear on. So no, I don't think he's quarterbacks next year. I just don't see it here. It's not working. It didn't work. It literally is a disaster with all the nightmare he's been. So no, I don't think he's quarterbacking here next year. Could he go on to another team? Sure, but Craig, like I said, he's a media headache, right? I mean, he's hard to deal with. He wants his own players. He wants his own things. Who's going to want to deal with that? He'd have to go to an also-ran team, right? A bad team. And what bad team would he want to go to? He's going to want to try and win. I don't see it. I think he may be done. I do think he may be done because of his attitude, because of his personality, because he's not good anymore. He's just not good anymore. Even if he doesn't realize it, he's just not good anymore. So I wonder if his career is just done.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we talk about the state of quarterbacking in the NFL. I don't think there's any question that he could start on some team next year. But the point that you made is the good one, is that of those teams that he would start on, let's call it 5 teams. Let's say that he is the 5th worst quarterback going into the NFL, because he won't be the worst. I mean, quarterbacking in the NFL is awful. But any of those teams, he would be, basically somebody who is holding the chair for somebody else, whether it's like the Giants or the Raiders or one of these teams that just doesn't have a quarterback. And if he wanted to be a backup, he could play for 10 years in the NFL. We've seen that before. Chase Daniel proved that. I mean, being a starter in the NFL and a backup for more at that time. So that could be the case. Real quick, let's go to this Rams situation here. Demarcus Robinson with an off-the-field issue this week. I think this was more of a fantasy story, honestly, when either Nakua or Kupp were out. At this point, I know Robinson's actually still played pretty well with both of them there, but he's not a startable player, I don't think, right now anyway.
No, he's the definition of touchdown deodorant, right? He was barely startable when Nakua and Kupp or Kupp were out. More or less now that they're both back. No, this is more of one I would more real life. Really, got a DWI and you're still playing him. Yeah, I don't want to hear about the NFL and all this stuff that we care. If the guy's useful to your team, he's going to play no matter what he does. If he's not useful, yeah, he's probably suspended for the game. Just the way it goes here. But like I said, he's touchdown deodorant tomorrow. They do play the Saints. Could score some points in that game, so he might be somewhat usable, but no buys this week. Now, I got to assume you can do better.
Let's go real quick. Aaron Jones, Minnesota Vikings. He's had a really nice season, George. He had over 100 yards last week. What do you make of his status going into this week?
I mean, somewhat concerning. You want him to be there against the Arizona Cardinals, of course. He's a nice running back, too. Probably not getting the touchdowns of late that we would like, at least that I would like, because I've got him in a couple of leagues here that I could use him to get there. Bottom line is this. Aaron Jones plays. He plays, so he should start. I'm good.
Yeah, no, I misspoke there, George. We just talked about Daniel Jones. I was like, wait a second, we're doing.
I ran with it for you. I ran with it for you.
You covered it up. You covered it up well. I was like, wait a second, we just did Daniel Jones here, and folks behind the scenes here, you have no idea. Generally speaking, George and I are wide awake here at 7:11 a.m.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Fillet Indiana. They would smash them. Honestly.
Do you listen to yourself speak? That's not a reality question. They have not played each other. You are using hypothetical.
And they got embarrassed.
So many
if
teams
they would have won that football, yes, that's you're
but that's the thing, John.
correct.
No. Stop.
The only argument is Indiana is a decent football team and a product of their environment.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Newswire here on SportsGrid. Did you watch football? Welcome back to Fantasy Sports today here on SportsGrid. It is one of those days here, I think, for me here. All right, I'm 0 for 2. I'm 0 for 2. It's only 7:15. I host another show, for those of you who missed the show, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern. It's called Newswire. This is Fantasy Sports today. I'm out of it. All right, Thursday football here. Of course, I think, saw some of the strangest endings to games that we've seen on Thanksgiving, George, to say the least. Let's start off with one of them. The Lions end up beating the Bears by a final of 23-20. If you were watching this game and I told you the final score was 41-3, you would have said, yeah, it feels about right. Somehow the Bears came all the way back to make this a game and nearly pulled it off. George, the stats themselves really don't tell the story here. What told the story is at the end of the game, the Bears made a horrible, timing decision without calling a timeout and basically throwing up a pass at the end of the game. It ended. But for fantasy purposes, let's take a look and see if we got what we thought we were getting out of some of the players. I think for Jared Goff, this is pretty much it. Like, this is standard Goff game. 221 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. On the side of Caleb Williams, I think we got the bigger game. 256 yards, 39 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns for Caleb Williams. I mean, this guy's having a really good season, Caleb Williams, Like, I think he's going to be a good quarterback, George. You just got to get more things figured out here. And I feel like we were saying that with Justin Fields, too. And here we go again.
They're different types of quarterbacks. Yeah, I think with Caleb, regardless of whether or not what coach you get in there, we'll see. You got to fix that offensive line, right? That offensive line needs help, needs work. You've got the good running back there, but whether or not he stays or he's the running back 2-3 years from now, that remains to be seen here. The wide receivers, Adunze has had a disappointing season, but we'll see if he develops into somebody. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen was alive on Thanksgiving. Probably shouldn't throw your helmet at the ref there, Keenan. Not smart. Or bowl it at the ref, whatever you did there. Cole Kmet's a solid tight end. They've got solid weapons there. Just keep building on that. But the offensive line needs help, and it needs help right away for Caleb Williams to truly succeed there. For the Lions, pretty much, they settled for a lot of field goals. That was disappointing there. Laporta had the 2 touchdowns, but what do you also have? 2 receptions? 3 receptions, 6 yards, but 2 of them were touchdowns. So he saved your fantasy day there. All right, St. Brown doesn't get into the end zone. We wanted that. Jameson Williams didn't have the big play, so we're waiting for that. Montgomery played. We were worried about the shoulder, right, Greg? He played, so that was all good. Didn't get the end zone, though, so if you had an anytime touchdown bet, I didn't this week because, once again, the shoulder. Gibbs had a nice day rushing. See, you got the yardage. You just didn't get that touchdown bump that you probably needed, right? Or you wanted.
Right.
That's the only thing I thought was disappointing from the Lions. Just didn't get the touchdown bump. Otherwise, they did what we thought they would do, right? They scored some points, only 23, but they won the game, moved on.
A lot of red zone opportunities, a lot of field goals being kicked in that game as well. All right, at the running back position, we'll go to the Lions here, and David Montgomery came through with 88 rushing yards. He had 3 receptions, 36 receiving yards. So not the biggest Montgomery game of the season, but you got out of there with about 10 to 15 fantasy points, depending on the format that you're playing. So not great, but you'll take it. I think that the big winner in fantasy was, had to be the Bears wide receivers, George. I mean, DJ Moore ended up having 8 receptions for 97 yards and a touchdown. And Keenan Allen had 5 receptions for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was a very quiet first half, needless to say, for all of these players on the Bears, but they came through in the second half, and now you kind of wonder to yourself here with a new interim coach coming in, are they going to unleash Williams a little bit more, and what will that look like with these wide receivers? I'm not particularly sure, but I can tell you that no interim coach is coming into this door or that sideline, to speak, and is going to coach like Matt Eberflus. I expect them to try and score as many points as possible, play reckless, play to score as many as you can. I mean, that's what they do. When an interim coach comes in, they're looking to make a statement. Saw it in New Orleans. I think they're going to try to do the same thing in Chicago.
Yeah, keep on the interim coach. Thomas Brown is the same guy who was the current offensive coordinator, so he's been working with Caleb and the offense there. I can understand if your people didn't have DJ Moore or Keenan Allen started, especially Keenan Allen, who really hadn't done much, right? So that points there, what do you have? So 24 fantasy points in some leagues. Yeah, that might have went to waste, right? That might have went to waste. That could have been disappointing for you. So, sort of what we'll see there, what's going to happen with these with the Bears. As they play San Fran next week in San Fran. San Fran's not the same team, and if Bosa's out again, he's not going to play Sunday, then, I can see the running with the Bears. All right, see what they can get. If they can, build upon this. It was the tale of two halves, you said. That first half was ugly. They did nothing in the first half. Second half, they couldn't be stopped. Well, the last drive could be stopped. But other than that, they were moving up and down the field here against a good Lions team. So we'll see. I said I still have my doubts about the Bears here. I think they're going to be very helter-skelter. And next week, you could be battling for a playoff spot. It is the last week of the regular season in most fantasy leagues. Or it could be your first week of the playoffs. So I might have some trouble trusting Bears.
Do you think that leagues that play the first round of the playoffs next week need to reevaluate? Because I am playing in one league that has a playoff week during buys. I don't think that, for me, that may have occurred last year. I don't really remember, but I don't think this many teams were off. I mean, George, you have, I believe, Washington, Baltimore, Denver, like several teams are off next week. You're going to have to fill in players during a playoff week. Seems weird.
Assuming you have a standard league, with 6 playoff teams, why are you having the playoffs next week? Right? Playoffs should be weeks 15, 16, 17. Works out perfectly, right? So I don't understand why you would do that. Why? Because you want to keep the same format you had all the other years where we only played 13 regular season games. And as you said, we have 6 teams on bye next week. That really screws. I mean, you can have a great season, but oh well, that's when Lamar Jackson's out and I'm toast.
Yeah.
Baltimore is one of those teams, and that would suck. I guess you knew about it all year long. You should have made made plans to survive it. Okay, that's true. I understand that, but I don't like it. I don't understand why you would not want to play one less game of the regular season. Like I said, 15, 16, 17, those should be your playoff weeks. 14's a regular season week. It solves all the problems.
Yeah, I am playing in one playoff league next week, and as I was trying to make trades, at the deadline this past week, I needed a wide receiver because I noticed that Zay Flowers was off next week. So I did get a couple, hopefully, that could fill in for me. All right, speaking of filling in, 2 backup quarterbacks playing yesterday or Thursday with the Giants and Cowboys. We'll recap that next.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Fillet Indiana. They would smash them. Honestly.
Do you listen to yourself speak? That's not a reality question. They have not played each other. You are using hypothetical.
And they got embarrassed.
As so many
if
teams
they
do.
Won that football. Yes, that's you're
but that's the thing, guys. No. Stop.
The only argument is Indiana is a decent football team and a product of their environment.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to Fantasy Sports today. Happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays to all of you watching. Craig Mish along with George Kurtz as we recap some of the games that are already in the books. We'll preview all the rest of the games coming up a little bit later in the show. All right, the game that George said that you got to have food. How did it work for you? Did you eat before this game? Was it a halftime meal? Was it a post-game meal? How did that all work out for you, George? I know you were really, talking about this on the show that you would not be at the table while this game was going on.
Generally, it's not just me, by the way. My brother's a big football guy, too. So we want dinner. They know if they want us at the table, dinner has to be served at 4 o'clock, right? It's generally right after the Lion game and before the Cowboy. It gives us a half hour there. Now, the Lion game went really late, right? It went past 4 o'clock, so we had to wait a little bit here. But it got done. All right, it got done. I think we were there for opening kickoff for the Cowboys. Dessert is at halftime. All right. Usually you get a little longer halftime because whatever.
What was for dessert?
Was it Wilson?
What'd you have for dessert?
I do not like apple pie. Shocking, I know. Or any other really pie. Pumpkin pie, gross. My mom has cookies, cake, chocolate pudding pie. I like chocolate pudding pie. That's what I go with. A little whipped cream on top. I'm a happy guy.
Okay.
Finished it off yesterday.
Yeah, I think we all finished off the food yesterday. Some of us. All right, the Cowboys finished off the Giants in, I don't know what you would call this game. 27-20 was the final there. Dallas, they looked okay. The Giants just looked awful. But let's get into it a little bit. Cooper Rush, who I had to play, by the way, in a 2-quarterback league. And I don't know that I'm going to play him in my playoff week next week. I still have to figure this out. But he had 195 yards and 1 touchdown. By the way, I opted for Rush over Lawrence. That's why I went with him because I just wasn't sure if Lawrence was going to play, but now I could go back to Lawrence if I want next week. So, look, I think Rush, to me, George, is sort of making his claim toward being a Minshew-type backup in the NFL. I mean, maybe that's fair. Like, I don't think he should be starting for anyone, but if Drew Lock, no disrespect, can get $5 million to be a backup quarterback on the Giants, why can't Cooper Rush?
Well, you're getting away from me. I think you put everything perfectly. I think he's a backup. He doesn't have great arm strength. He throws a very catchable ball. Well, not the CD Lamb. That is not catchable. But he doesn't have that gun, right? That's the only thing he really has is the gun there to rocket something in. But he's a backup. It is what it is. I would have made the same choice as you, by the way, if I had between Rush and Lawrence. I do not. But I do have Aaron Rodgers or Lawrence. And right now I'm going with Aaron Rodgers just because I don't know if Lawrence can finish the game. All right, he's probably going to need surgery on his non-throwing shoulder after the season. For all I know, he lands on that shoulder one time Sunday. He's coming out of the game. So I would have made the same choice as you as far as starting Rush. Plus, it was the Giants' defense. So Rush is, like I said, he's okay. You mentioned next week, by the way, Dallas, Monday night, Cincinnati. No pass defense.
Simpsons game. Yeah.
And by the way, at one time I thought the Cowboys have won 2 in a row. I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll watch it on The Simpsons, whatever ESPN Plus. I'll watch it on that channel because that might be more entertaining. Now the Cowboys have won a couple of games. That probably won't happen there.
All right, quarterback for the Giants. Let's hit on him real quick. Drew Lock, he got the start over Tommy DeVito. Looked like he ran in a very long touchdown to begin. And then we sort of said to ourselves, my gosh, like, why were they playing Tommy DeVito? And then we had to watch three quarters of Drew Lock. I think Rush may be better than Drew Lock, George. I don't know, man. Maybe it was a lot to ask for him to have to play in that situation, but he didn't look good to me at all.
No, I think Locke is hoping for a sort of Baker Mayfield return. Gets the start, show what he can do the last couple of games, and parlay that to a contract next year, a bigger contract next year. That wasn't pretty. Listen, the Giants have no offensive line either. So you don't want to kill Locke too much there, but that was pretty ugly football. It wouldn't have mattered if DeVito played. It might have been worse if DeVito played, by the way. I know from a betting perspective, I was willing to put more money on the Cowboys if DeVito was playing than Locke, and went down a little bit because Locke can at least throw the football there. But Giants don't have a starting quarterback on their roster. They're drafting somebody. We know that next year. We'll see who they get. But Locke, he tampers everyone down. DeVito, everyone down in that offense. That offense is not going to get any better till possibly next season.
Yeah, the big fantasy winner for the day had to be Rico Dowdle. I guess, George, the question is, did people start Rico Dowdle? I know he's been getting the opportunities to play a lot more. Hasn't really made the most of them. I wonder if people even had him in the lineup on Thursday.
No buys this week. I can see some teams not having him, right? Because you had your 2 starting running backs, but he is that running back with a pulse, and he did score a couple of touchdowns. I hope you did. I did in one league, but that's a deep league. I have no choice but to start him. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have either.
All right, cold night in Green Bay coming up next. We'll cap off the Giants stats from Thursday and then dive into the Packers and Dolphins next. Don't go away.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Fillet Indiana. They would smash them.
What?
Honestly.
Do you listen to yourself speak? That's not a reality question. They have not played each other. You are using hypothetical.
And they got embarrassed.
As so many
if
teams
they would
do.
have won that football, yes, that's you're
but that's the thing, Johnny. No.
The
Stop.
only argument is Indiana is a decent football team and a product of their environment.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports today here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish along with George Kurtz. The nightcap in the NFL was a game that was sort of over before it started, but from a fantasy perspective, at least we got some points late. That's really what mattered. We'll start off with the Packers, who I think, George, when you really think about it, didn't even have to sweat this game at all. I know there were some tenuous moments, really, but this narrative that the Dolphins can't play in cold weather, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the stats really don't indicate that, but here's what I'm going to say about Miami, and then we'll get to the Packers here. George, I feel like, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, I don't know why no one is talking about this, by the way. It feels like since Tua has come back, the Dolphins have basically decided to make him into a different quarterback. They don't let him drop back, wait 5-6 seconds, and throw passes down the field anymore to Tyreek Hill. It has created a fantasy superstar in Jonnu Smith. I did not see that coming. Basically, he is the number one target right now on the Miami Dolphins. Tua is playing like a quick drop back, throw it over the middle quarterback and done. There's no deep passing whatsoever. And George, the question that I would ask you as you see that 365 yards, 2 touchdowns, is that this is best for Tua's long-term health in the NFL. There's no question about that. But it doesn't seem like there's any adjustments ever happening with the Dolphins. Like, you never see them taking deep shots anymore. And people are saying, well, Tyreek Hill, he's not catching the ball. He's just going over the middle. And so is Jalen Waddle. Now, if he breaks one, it's a different story. I don't know how this is sustainable for the Dolphins moving forward. To me, that's what I see. George, I don't see Tua dropping back, surveying the field, waiting a few seconds and throwing a deep ball. I see him dropping back and throwing the ball almost immediately.
It's the version of the old San Fran offense, right? The West Coast always get the ball, 3-5 step drop and throw it. Now we know why they're doing it. They don't want them to get hit, right? They're worried about that. I wonder if this offense now or two is either they're going to have to get over that fear and go back to your normal offense, or you're going to develop a whole new offense, and you can't do that in season, right? You can't get that done in season. I mean, the numbers look great, right? He's throwing the ball too much. 37 to 46, 365, 2 touchdowns. That's fantastic. But what you said about Tyreek Hill, you eliminate what he can do. You know, right? Because everything's bunched. He doesn't, and Tua doesn't throw a great outside ball. A lot of his throws are in the middle, which is why Jonnu Smith's doing so well here. So there's a lot that needs to be discussed here or figured out in Miami, because this is all you're going to do here. Because you got him on the contract and you're worried about the concussion. You don't want to lose him. You saw what happened with Skylar Thompson and everybody else that played. There was a complete disaster. Then, yeah, the offense is different. You know, can you win with this? You can. But I wonder if it's going to take an offseason to truly figure out here. But, yeah, Tyreek Hill, I know he had a good fantasy day because he caught that deflected touchdown pass. But He's a shell of his former self, right? You just said it. What was the last deep play or big play we saw from Tyreek was that week 1. When he had that, a 60-yard touchdown against Jacksonville. Other than that, he's been completely, I don't want to say invisible, but you know you're not getting any big plays out of him. You're not seeing any of his legs being put to use here. So it's all Jonnu Smith and Achane. That's it. That's all we're getting.
Yeah, Achane had a nice game too. Jonnu Smith is now one of the top tight ends in all of fantasy football this season, which is sort of crazy. And I think from a Dolphins perspective, George, they're kind of doing the right thing, as crazy as it seems, for now. Because if they have determined that they're not willing to let Tua get hit on a lot of plays and they don't want him waiting and dropping back and throwing bombs, what is the drop-off, as you just said, from him to the other quarterbacks? So it's like, all right, we'll beat the Raiders, we'll beat the Patriots, but then when we got to play a good team, probably not going to win. How many wins does that equate to? 9 wins, 8 wins, 10 wins? Not good enough to go far, but good enough to survive the season, which is kind of seems like they are doing. On the Packers side, Jordan Love threw for 274 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. The big game that was somewhat of a surprise, I think, was from Jaden Reed, who scored twice in this game, George. He had 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions, 24 yards, also a couple of nice runs in this game as well. But it's so funny that you and I sit here during the week, usually previewing these shows and previewing the Packers, and we're guessing which Packers wide receiver is going to have the big game. And this week it happened to be Reed.
Hey, you mentioned he got 2 touchdowns, only had 3 receptions for 24 yards. I mean, it's the guessing game you're playing every week with the Packers, right? Who's going to be that receiver? Watson, Reed, Wicks. There was no Dobbs this week. He was out with the concussion. Now you throw Tucker Kraft in here as well, with tight end, who's alive again. Fantasy-wise, it's a nightmare. NFL-wise, it's a great thing to have, right? Because as long as one of them's hitting it big, it keeps the defense guessing here. Watson, 2 for 67. Wicks at 4 for 30. Reeby already said here. And then you throw in Tucker Kraft, who also was really the big winner. 678, didn't catch a touchdown there. So it keeps defenses guessing. You got Josh Jacobs running the football as well. He caught a bunch of passes also, 4, which is unusual for Josh. So he had a big game here. It's a well-balanced offense is how I describe this, right? A well-balanced offense. When Jordan Love isn't doing silly things and throwing silly interceptions, it's just a really good offense that can move the football. And they have a big game Thursday, Greg. Another Thursday night game for the Green Bay as they play the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, and I think in order for Green Bay to get any kind of top seed, they're going to have to beat Detroit in that game, but it seems like Detroit right now is just in lockstep to get that number 1 seed in the NFC. Let's dive a little bit more into the Packers here, George. I do think they're probably better than Minnesota. If they had to go to Minnesota, though, I could see the Vikings winning because of that defense. How far can the Packers go this season? It seems to me like their best case scenario would be playoffs, win one playoff game, and then go home. Can they get further than that? I haven't seen enough of that.
Right now they're the 6th seed, so they would play Seattle. All right, the winner of the NFC West, and that might end up being where they are. All right, I don't think they're going to drop the 7th seed. All right, they have a 2-game lead over Washington, and as you said, Minnesota has a game lead over them, and Minnesota might be the better team here. So maybe they're not going to catch the Vikings. And I don't know if you mind that. You don't mind playing Seattle week 1, right? You'll take a chance. It's in Seattle, of course, but you don't mind playing them. And then you're going to end up playing, you could play Detroit week 2. So we'll find out how well you can play against Detroit on Thursday night, right? We'll get a much better idea of where the Packers stand. Can you play indoors when, environment's really set for the Lions to go? So we'll find out there. Do I think they can be dangerous? I do. Do I think they're as good as Detroit? No. Do I think they're as good as Philadelphia? No. I think their best case scenario is that they're the 3rd best team in the NFC. I think there's a shot they could be better than the Vikings, but I do think they're behind the Lions and the Eagles.
All right, and as far as the NFC, you see they're Detroit number 1. Philadelphia would be the team maybe to beat them. Philadelphia's schedule actually pretty good. Maybe there's a chance in the end for them. For Miami, George, I felt like they needed to win out to make the playoffs, and I feel like that's not going to happen now. And I think they'll probably still lose at least 1 game between now and the end of the season. But George, the fantasy numbers will still stack up. I think there'll be some good games for them when they play against bad teams. They'll be able to pour it on a little bit, like the Raiders, as I mentioned, and then the Patriots last week, and then in comeback fashion against the Packers. But where are the Dolphins at for you, George? Like, a year ago, it looked like, wow, this is like going to be a contender for the AFC. They look nowhere close to that now. I don't. It's a tough scenario for me. They can't really go back and rebuild or anything like that. They have so much money invested in Tyreek Hill and Tua, but inevitably they're going to come up short again this year with an 8-9, 9-8, somewhere along those lines.
That's about what they're going to get. All right, they play the Jets next week. Then they play at Houston, San Fran, at Cleveland, at Jets. So theoretically, they're probably going to get 8-9 wins. You already said it there. Are they out? Well, I don't know if they're definitely out of the playoffs. I don't expect them to make it, mind you. But, last couple of teams in the AFC, Chargers, they get a rough schedule with Chargers, right? I don't know if they win this Sunday there, so they could fall. Denver's there. And, they're not going to make the playoffs, but I think they will end up being 8-9 wins. And you're going to want to start them fantasy-wise. Told you the schedule. Those would be good fantasy numbers from Miami.
Yeah, it should be. All right, we'll take a quick time out here on Fantasy Sports today. The Black Friday game between the Raiders and Chiefs. We'll break it all down for you next.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Fillet Indiana. They would smash them.
What?
Honestly.
You listen to yourself speak. That's not a reality question. They have not played each other. You are using hypothetical.
And they got embarrassed.
As so many
if
teams
they would have
do.
won that football, yes, that's you're
but that's the thing, Johnny. No. Stop.
The only argument is Indiana is a decent football team and a product of their environment.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Well, Fridays used to be for, I don't know, waking up early, Black Friday shopping. I mean, I was long gone from that, George. I mean, to think that George would ever get on a line on Black Friday in the last 30 years, I got like an impossibility on that. That's probably never happened. For me, it was not a shopping day yesterday. I did have a chance, George, to tune into Amazon Prime and stream this game between the Raiders and Chiefs. And boy, my son was watching this game too, and he was watching it in another room, and he was like, "Dad, this game is horrible." 19-17 was the final between the Chiefs and the Raiders, George. I don't know. The Chiefs just keep finding ways to win these games, and yesterday, let's talk about a blunder. In case you missed it at the end of this game, the Raiders were right there on the brink of kicking a field goal, and Daniel Carlson's been really good. I know he didn't have a good game yesterday, but he's been pretty good. You feel like decent about your chances with him kicking a 50, and they snap the ball. It goes off Aiden O'Connell's shoulder onto the ground. Chiefs win 19-17. They've won on a blocked field goal. They've won on botched plays. George, I guess eventually they're just going to get it right. But here's my bold prediction as we continue. No Super Bowl for the Chiefs this year, George. I think they're going to get bit, man. I don't know when it's going to be. First round when they play in the playoffs, second round, AFC Championship or Super Bowl. I just have seen them flounder too much for me to pick them. I got like 3 or 4 other teams better than them this year. Sorry to say. They have not played well for me.
I may not say 3 or 4 other better teams, but I agree. I don't think they make the Super Bowl. All right, I think Buffalo is definitely a better team. Baltimore should have beaten them. Likely was out by a toenail. Right, in week 1, they would have beat them too. Cincinnati should have beat them, but they had the stupid DPI. It was
Denver.
DPI, but right. So that should have happened. I mean, they should have lost quite a few games already this year. You mentioned the blocked field goal. Yesterday was just comedic because you can't tell what you watch in this game. Now, first off, I'll be the first person to tell you. I had my Thanksgiving leftovers at 2:00 Eastern before the game. All right, maybe the tryptophan got me. Maybe it was the game, but I fell asleep. All right, from about the end of the first quarter till I think that's how boring it was. All right, it was like, oh, this is terrible. And I woke up about the start of the third quarter, watched the end of it. So just bad here. But you're almost joking to yourself, all right, how will Kansas City figure out the way to win this? And then you see the bot snap, the fumble off his chest. Like, you got to be kidding me. And then, then it looks like he might recover it. And, of course, whatever the offensive lineman kicks the ball away from him. It's like, what is this, a movie? Or just a bad movie we're watching each and every week that's a little different outcome? Just weird. But I agree with you. No, this is not not right now a Super Bowl team. It's just not. And that offensive line is getting worse and worse. That left tackle is like, he's a turnstile right now. Isn't he? Mahomes killed here. They have a lot of problems. I can't say that. I just don't think they'll be able to figure out to be a Super Bowl winning team. But I've said that before, and Mahomes figures out a way to win.
Yeah, he has, but it hasn't looked like this. It's never looked like every single game they're getting lucky to win. And I do think they're going to win a game in the playoffs. I just don't think that luck is going to win them 3 games in the playoffs this year. Mahomes had 306 passing yards, 1 rush, 4 yards, and also 1 touchdown disappointment for him. Travis Kelce got a lot of targets yesterday, by the way. 13 targets in the game for him, 7 catches for 68 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, who was very silent in the first half of the game, ended up getting 4 for 90 in this one. And then for Kansas City, we saw the return of Isaiah Pacheco. He had 44 yards. I think we're in a situation now with KC, George. And by the way, Pacheco had 44 yards, I think like 25 on one play. So it does seem to me that you can't play Kareem Hunt anymore. And maybe playing Pacheco is the thing to do going forward, because if he gets goal line carries week 14, week 15, he's playable once again.
Yeah, I think Pacheco also, he's the angry runner, right? So if the offensive line is not blocking that well, sometimes he can beat the first guy anyway because he don't want to go down here. So I think Pacheco is the guy you want now over Hunt. I think they proved that yesterday. Once they had both that even carries there, Pacheco did a lot more with that. 34 yards was his longest to carry. So something to be said for that. 34 on one, 10 on the other 6. So that's somewhat concerning as well here. I think when you look at it up and down, Hopkins, you said it, quiet first half, better second half. 9 targets, only 4 receptions. Even Kelce, 13 targets, 7 receptions. So he's not hitting these guys a whole lot. It's about 50-50 whether he gets the ball to them or not. I think that bothers me. Hopkins had the big drop in the first half, too. That would have extended the drive. On third, I think it was 3rd and 11, he dropped the ball there. So that's they're not quite in sync yet. Maybe they get that way. I just don't see it. I think I read it the same as you. Could they win a playoff game? Sure. Whether they're the 1 over 2 seed, they'll play right now Denver over Chargers. I think they can get by either one of those, but that might be as far as they go. Although I could see them beating Pittsburgh. I don't know if I see them beating Baltimore or Buffalo right now. Houston, yeah, they play coming to Kansas City in January, the cold weather. I don't know if Houston does any damage there either.
All right, let's run through the Raiders. Aiden O'Connell, another player I think similar to Cooper Rush, who I think is going to have a nice long career in the NFL as a backup. I know O'Connell didn't play well in his first starting stint with the Raiders a couple of months ago before he went out. I think he's okay. 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. Looked a little bit shaky, but I think he's back as the Raiders backup next year or maybe somewhere else. Brock Bowers has been an absolute fantasy star this year. Is he the number 1 tight end in fantasy? Probably so. Yeah, 10 receptions, 140 yards, and a touchdown. Sincere McCormick had a better game than Amir Abdullah, who started yesterday, although it was, Abdullah caught some passes, I think, at the end. 64 rushing yards, 1 reception for 2 yards. And don't look now, George. I know that we're not going to really focus on him all that much. But now look at this, with back-to-back performances, 6 catches, 97 yards, 10 catches, 121 yards, 59 receptions, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. George, Jacoby Myers is having a really good year. He's going to end up having like 90 catches, almost 1,000 yards, and a handful of touchdowns in this offense. Is sort of remarkable.
Yeah, 2 things. One, what happened to the Kansas City defense? This defense was really good the first half. Now that they're playing poorly the last couple of weeks. And 2 is, how do the Patriots ever let Myers get away? Could they use someone like him? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. But Myers, but you're right, playing fantastic with so quarterback play, nothing from the running game. I guess Bowers taking away all the attention there, but Myers really good.
Yeah, no, it looks like the Raiders are doing things a little differently since they fired their offensive coordinator. But Antonio Pierce, I don't know. Unfortunately, could be the next one at the end of the season. Bold predictions are next.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Fillet Indiana. They would smash them. Honestly.
Do you listen to yourself speak? That's not a reality question. They have not played each other. You are using hypothetical.
And they got embarrassed.
As so many
if
teams
they would have
do.
won that football, yes, that's you're
but that's the thing,
100%
Johnny.
correct.
No.
The
Stop.
only
Please stop.
The only
Let me
argument
speak.
is Indiana is a decent football team and a product of their environment.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports today. As we wrap up hour number one of the show, we're going to preview all of the games coming up in the NFL on Sunday in our next hour. Thanks for tuning in. Fantasy Sports today here on SportsGrid. Now it's time for some bold predictions as we enter, for a lot of you, the most important week of the fantasy football season. Here's George.
That's right. Could very well be if you're in the final week of the season. You need to make the playoffs here. So it is what it is here, right? No buys this week. Remember that here. You know, Craig, I might ask you, how do you define fantasy MVP? Is it someone like Saquon Barkley, you know, a late first-round pick, second-round pick here, Derrick Henry, second-round pick, they're having fantastic seasons here? Or is it someone that you didn't draft, that no one drafted here, but you picked up during the season here? Someone like Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? Granted, this probably only applies to 2 quarterback leagues or super flex leagues, but he may not have been drafted or drafted late and is having a fantastic season, even without Mike Evans, who was hurt for a while. Chris Godwin's now out for the season. Baker Mayfield is still throwing touchdowns here. You think Cleveland would like to redo that whole trade, have Baker Mayfield be a starting quarterback, not trade for Deshaun Watson? Don't give up all those picks for Deshaun, not to mention the headache, the PR move he made here. I think Mayfield goes off again on Sunday against the Carolina Panthers here. Throws for, 3 touchdowns, 300 yards. Is what he does. He's made Cade Otton a top tight end in fantasy, right? I think that's how good Baker's been here. Bucky Irving, the running back. I expect, once again, picking on Carolina here. I think they're giving up 30-plus points tomorrow. I think Bucky Irving's going to have 100 all-purpose yards, going to get the end zone again. A guy, I just want the touchdown. I know he's going to get the yards. He's better than Rachaad White. Rachaad White last year was sort of a fantasy darling because he was a compiler. They had nobody else there. So he caught all the passes. He got all the carries. And so he looked like he's good, but it was sort of a mirage. Now you have Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving's the better player than Rachaad White. I think Todd Bowles, the head coach, is starting to realize that and going, hey, we got to give Bucky more and more carries here. Much rather start Bucky tomorrow over Rachaad White. Nico Collins is back for the Houston Texans here. They play the hapless Jacksonville Jaguars. I know what Jaguars are coming off a bye. Do you really think they're going to be all that much better? Nico Collins is really, really good. He's the next guy we're going to be putting up there with C.D. Lambs of the world, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. He's going to be that guy next year in leagues, going as a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy. Maybe not first round, but second round. It's the only guy, C.J. Stroud, seems to be able to hit constantly. Stroud's had a very disappointing fantasy year. Collins going off tomorrow. Over 100 yards, at least a touchdown. Wouldn't surprise me he gets at the end zone twice. And I think one of those touchdowns is going to be of the long variety, 40-plus yards. I'm still going to have money on his longest reception prop tomorrow. Los Angeles Rams. Kyren Williams, when he's not fumbling the football, All right, he did put the ball on the ground twice last week, lost once, is almost a touchdown machine. He catches the ball in the backfield. He can run there. No one's worried about him because they're worried about Nakua. They're worried about Kupp and all the damage they can do. New Orleans does not have much of a defense here. They traded away what little they did have here. I think Kyron goes off tomorrow. A guy who maybe helps you get into the playoffs by winning your fantasy matchup tomorrow. So I'm going to be big on Kyron Williams. Just don't put the ball on the rug anymore. That's the biggest thing I'm worried about with Kyron Williams there, is that he does fumble a little too much. But I like this offense here. And like I said, I like it that the fact that no one's worried about him, because you got to worry about Nakua, you got to worry about Kupp. My last one, I'm going to go with the squeaky wheel gets the grease here, right? George Pickens had an interesting outing against Cleveland in that Snow Bowl game there on last Thursday night. He was open once in the end zone, wide open. Russell Wilson missed him, whether it was the wind, whether it was the snow, whatever missed him. Then the last play of the game, the Hail Mary, where he's getting into a fight that was fantastic. I think Pickens has a big game tomorrow. Once again, you're playing the Cincinnati Bengals, the no secondary Cincinnati Bengals. Points are coming tomorrow. All right, I think 50 points are coming in this ball game between the two teams here. I think Pickens goes off at least 75 yards. That's probably being light. I probably think it's more of 100 yards. I think he's going to get in the end zone twice tomorrow. George Pickens sort of erases what happened in the snow game that Thursday night.
All right. Let's get to what's coming up next here, not just on Fantasy Sports Today, but the rest of the day here on SportsGrid. Huge game between Michigan and Ohio State. Of course, coming up at noon, and college football today is going to take over from us coming up in 1 hour from now. So stay tuned, 9 a.m. Eastern. Here on this show, we're going to have Hold or Drop coming up next. So make sure you stay tuned to that. The waiver report is out there. Who should you be picking up in fantasy to play this week? We'll preview every single game on the Sunday slate with our Sunday fantasy preview and also our daily fantasy buy or sell. For those of you playing over on DraftKings or FanDuel this week, we're going to set some prices, see who we like going into the weekend. You're watching FST, Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. We've got Joe Pisapia and Matt Stryker Sunday morning. Craig and George here with you on Saturday morning. We got you covered for every single week of the fantasy football season, and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Fillet Indiana. They would smash them.
What?
Honestly.
You listen to yourself speak. That's not a reality question. They have not played each other. You are using hypothetical.
And they got embarrassed.
How many
if
teams
they would
do?
have won that football, yes, that's you're
but that's the thing, guys.
correct.
No.
The
Stop.
only argument is Indiana is a decent football team and a product of their environment.
The Early Line, only